Welcome to Breakfast Food, the weekly feel-good podcast with funny anecdotes, stupid stories, and advice you never even knew you wanted. From me, Cara McKinley.
And me, Annabel Logan. Hello!
Hello! How have you been this week, Annabel?
Good. I've been surprisingly well. I haven't caught any more lurgy.
That's good.
Yay! And what else? Yeah, just sort of enjoying home time, drinking lots of tea. Yeah, I cannot complain. I'm feeling A-okay. How about you?
It seems like we've both gotten over our afflictions from last episode.
Yeah. Where we were just slightly off our faces.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's good. Professional.
Apparently it made for a good episode. I had so much good feedback from last time, so
I know.
Maybe we should
Thanks.
Well, we shouldn't. I was about to say maybe we should drug up every episode, but let's not. Let's
not.
We
That's
don't
really
condone
nice
this.
though. I'm genuinely very happy that people enjoyed it, because I remember I edited a lot out of that episode.
Yes.
We had I cut off about half an hour.
Yeah, you messaged me triumphantly, being like, "I managed to cut 30 minutes."
Oh yes. But it's really cool that our just random chat is engaging for people and they're enjoying it.
I want to give a very specific shout out because I know that she's going to be so happy if I do it. But one of my friends, Marie Claire, it's whenever she messages me like not long after midnight. So I believe she's like waiting for the episodes to pop up.
Gosh.
And she's already gone back and re-listened to some of the older ones because she enjoys them so much.
I love that.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank
makes
you.
me, every week that I get a little message, it makes me so happy. So I just wanted to shout her name out real quick.
That's so awesome. Yeah, honestly, that makes my day. Thanks so much, Marie Claire. That's honestly lovely. Happy times. Yeah, shall we chat a bit about our topic?
Yes, what is on the waffle this week? Oh, I know.
Why we decided this would be, the best idea ever, and we were like, let's talk about our teenage years. Yeah.
It is a good idea. It will be funny. It's just it's very telling. So right off the bat, I will say this week we do not have a sharing platter because we reached out. We were like, "Hey guys, let us know your stories," and not a single person wanted to give us any of their stories. And hey, we completely understand.
Yeah, we get it.
I'm nervous right now.
I even tried to bribe people on Twitter, and I was saying,
"Oh my god!"
I was like, tell us your story, and we'll shout out your podcast or your platform on our podcast." And
everyone was like, "It's not worth it."
Lol, no.
Yeah.
I get it. It's totally
cool.
Well, we're gonna
we'll just
burden ourselves.
We'll be the
ones. It'll be cathartic. I don't think I've ever really chatted to someone just about my teenage years.
Yeah, I
I
think that from hearing the episode, people will start to be like, "Oh, this was actually really funny when this happened to me," or like, "Oh yeah, that's do you know what I mean?" I genuinely, my feelings about teenagers now are much the same as my feelings about teenagers when I was a teenager.
Okay.
I've never not been terrified of teenagers. I was scared of them when I was a kid. I was scared of my peers when I was a teenager, and then now when I see a group of teenagers, I actively cross the road.
Oh no!
And I know, and it's so silly because I full well know no matter who you are when you're a teenager, you're having a tough time. No
true.
Teenager goes through their whole teenage year and feels good the whole time. So I get it. I get why you need to walk around in gaggles and you need to shout at me and stuff like that. But
you
also
need to shout at me.
Literally ever since I became an adult, the only time I've ever had been heckled, or the only, well, other than catcalls and stuff, lol, being a woman, But like the only time I've ever had like people be like, "Hey Ginger" or anything, it's always been like just like a group of teens who are like, "I need to feel better about myself."
Yeah, this will really add street cred, because that's what they still
street
say,
cred.
The kids. Street cred.
Is that what they ever said?
Yeah. Yes. I was a teenager back in the 70s with my street cred. I have an interesting like weird reaction. It's interesting you say you sort of still cross the road on this.
I genuinely do.
I am actually more scared of groups of teenage girls than guys.
Oh,
yeah. So I have this weird thing that kicks in with me. I don't know if it's just because I'm a feminist and I don't take no shit, but even though I'm a bit nervous, I actively become more angrier when I see a gaggle of teenage boys and they're walking my way. I like spread myself out and I'm like, you shall not pass. I'm like, I'm walking here.
You bully them.
Yeah. And most of the time they just ignore me and they don't do anything. But I'm like, I did it. I stood up to them.
Victory.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. If someone kicks in, it's like a red mist and I have to...
I wish I had that. I will move for teenage boys, teenage girls, a mix of both. I will move. If there's two teenagers, I will still... Like, I don't cross the street every time, I suppose, because I don't want it to be too obvious. You know what I mean? I still want to appear like I'm kind of cool. So, like, usually a lot of the time I'll just either, like, look at my phone and pretend like I haven't noticed them, or, like, look dead ahead and I'm just like, it's okay. Just don't look up.
Yeah. And there was a funny... I think my turning point was maybe... I think when I hit my late 20s and all of a sudden it wasn't obviously teenagers chatting to me, but if I was in shops or something, all of a sudden mums with small kids would start saying, "Oh, mind the lady."
Yeah.
And it was instead of like, "Watch the girl," I was suddenly a lady. And I was like, oh God. I am of age now. Oh my. So maybe that kind of helped as well. But like, yeah, damn right, I'm a lady.
I'm a woman. What about a group of teenage girls freaks you out?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it maybe does hit a few things from when I was a teenager, because I had the most trouble with other teenage girls. Like,
I mean, yeah.
You know, as you do, I guess. But it kind of maybe evokes parts of that in me, and I find they're just a bit more tricky. And they're more whispery, and it's more psychological. Yeah. And
they are like, more whispery.
Yeah, I don't like. And if they start to, I get paranoid. I'm like, they start to laugh just as I've walked past. Oh my God.
Yes. Oh my God.
What have they discovered? What horrible secret have they seen about me and seen into my soul?
Have I got toilet paper on my shoe?
Yeah,
something hanging in my nose. What's happening? Yeah. I remember, this is like off tangent completely, but when I taught English in Japan, I had a class of just like 3 5-year-old girls. They were super cute. They were really nice. And they'd started playing this game with me before class started, where they would go into the corner and like fake whisper at each other and like giggle. And then I would go, "What are you talking about?" and run at them, and then they'd be like, "Ah," and they'd run away, and it was all fun. And then they'd go into another corner and they would do it. But I was like low-key being traumatized by them, like even faking whispering about me. I was like, "Stop it! I don't know what you're saying."
Right. There's something so about strange. Whispers.
It's just some
secrets.
It's something about like, yeah, people being like, "Oh my God, have you heard that blah 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 did this?" And you're like, "No, I didn't do it."
I know, and the more you try and defend yourself, the worse it gets. And people are like, "Oh, well, clearly you have a problem with it." And I'm like, "Of course I have a problem with it. You're lying."
Yeah, you're lying. No, oh my God. So I want to know what kind of teenager you were before we get into all, like what because your teenage years were like early 2000s, weren't they?
Yeah, my teenage years, early 2000s. So like 2000, 2001, 2002 were kind of main teenage years.
So what was your lurk?
Well, so I definitely kind of chameleoned, as you do as a teenager. When I started off in high school, by the way, I went to the IRA if anyone knows the IRA, the Inverness Royal Academy.
Okay. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
The IRA.
It was many lols in the school. So it wasn't royal, complete opposite, but it had a nice sounding name. So when I first arrived, I was sort of taken under the wing of what you would call the kind of chavvy cool kids. Because I was so moldable. I was so malleable. It was horrible. And I was really good at gymnastics. And that's all it needed. Yeah, I had a little... Yeah, I was like, I can do like gymnastics, and I was good at trampolining. So
like the sporty girls were like, oh, we want you in our team.
Yeah, they were, and luckily it coincided because just as I arrived at school, I actually arrived at that school in my second year. I started off in another school my first year, away from all my primary friends, and then my mum realised that actually it was probably not the best idea to drag me out of my primary school, have no friends, and to start again. So I went back. Luckily they were deciding to start a cheerleading kind of group club. We never really led anything, but we kind of practiced. Very weird. There wasn't like anything to cheerlead, like there wasn't a team, but it happened when I arrived, and I was like, I can do a few things, and then they were like, awesome. But I kind of was started out as that kind of chavvy. I had all my poppers, my kappa, my what was like Adidas things. Like my mum bowed to my own pressure and kind of helped me get a few kind of bits of gear.
I would like to make clear, just to anyone who may not be familiar with what we call them here. In this case, poppers are. In this case, poppers are the joggy bottoms. What would you call them? The tracksuit pants that have buttons at the side that you can pop off. We're not talking about the club drug.
It was just straight into poppers and early age. It was a weird time because I was sort of accepted, but I also wasn't accepted because in that group I was still an outsider, and I was definitely the butt of the joke. So the kind of like queen bee would like unpop my poppers all the time and shit like that, you know.
Oh no.
I know. So it was
the
like,
worst.
lol, oh, it's funny, and I was like, it's so funny, and I was like, oh my god, I'm dying inside.
Yes, of course.
And I still am. I was a really quiet kid, really. I had quite a lot of, I won't go into it because it's kind of like, don't bring a downer, but I'd had a really traumatic kind of few years from 14, 15 of like, you know, lots of sad things happening in my life. So I was feeling kind of down anyway, and then a teenager on top of that, and then I was like really, I was smart, like I liked learning. I didn't know how to apply it sometimes to like make it neat. It was kind of like a random splodgy mess, but I had the intelligence, so I did get like good grades overall, and I worked hard, and I got like, you know, I did well in that respect. But to be honest, by the time I hit third year, I was really over trying to be cool and trying to fit in, and I just didn't fit in, and I just kind of gave up, and I kind of just started to hang around with just random misfits. And yes, it kind of sucked because I didn't really feel like I had any, you know, I wasn't that noticeable, but I was like, and I obviously wasn't like an actual proper, like what you call a geek, you know. It was just sort of this weird middle ground. So I was quite quiet, but I also had very much a secret life outside of school. Ooh. And like that kept me going. And I'll tell you a bit more about this later. But I'll give you a hint. My secret life was musical theatre.
Yeah.
we had no like theatre thing in our school. Like drama wasn't a thing we did. So this was like the sort of beacon of my life, and I was like, I can sing away my problems. So
oh my God.
yeah, so that kind of helped me a bit. But on the whole, by the time I left school, I left in 5th year. I didn't need to do my 6th year. I went and worked for a year before university. But by my 5th year, I was just sort of over it. And
we had such a similar trajectory.
Yeah.
I think. Yes.
Yeah.
So
how about you?
A few years later, Cara had her teenage years, and honestly, much the same. I started off like a little Ned.
Yeah.
Or trying to be.
Yes,
do you know what I mean?
totally.
Because I feel like me and you are the same sort of background where our parents aren't actually wealthy, but they wanted us to present like it would be easier for us to be wealthy when we grew up. It's basically
sure, exactly.
So like my parents aren't exceptionally wealthy, but my dad did work super hard to get us like a house in a nice area and stuff like that. So like I never actually fit in with the people I was hanging around with because I was trying so hard to like be super Neddy when I was actually growing up around people who super weren't. So yeah, like 13, 14, I was like, again, wearing tracksuit bottoms, and like I started drinking super young, and like I'd go and I would steal vodka from my aunt's house and then fill the bottle up with water, just like all that normal stuff. Yeah, just all that stuff. And then it actually all came around when I always knew, well, I guess I always knew I was gay without knowing what the word was. Because obviously my first crush on a girl was in primary 2. I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
And I had a crush on my teacher, Mrs. Ramsey. And obviously at that age, like I didn't actually know what a crush was. Like I was just like, I like this person. And so every single day I would hug her like at the start of the day. And obviously, like, there's that whole thing of, like, teachers aren't super meant to hug the kids. Sure. So her and my mum had to pull me aside and be like, you have to stop hugging Mrs. Ramsey. No. And I got really upset.
I bet.
I know, ridiculous. But yeah, so I was starting to get to, like, boiling point with needing to, like, express myself and, you know, be a teenager who was gay out openly and stuff like that. And around about that same time, I found, like, basically the emos and the goths, that kind of... like realm outside of school. So I had like a couple friends in school, and one of my friends, Jordan, had already like started hanging out at a place that we called the Square. You know, every town or city has like the bit where the alternative kids hang out. Yeah, we had when the alternative kids hang out. Yeah, I think they had squares. We had the Weir. Which was this really shitty, really dangerous weir, like dam, like oh my god, it was honestly dangerous as heck. Like you could jump and you could get sucked under this like this weir and you would never come up, and it was I know we were like that's so really cool, but we literally anyway the Square happened because a couple of years before I showed up, the emo and goth, or we'll call it alternative children, I guess, hung around just like a bus stop at Livingston Centre. Like they just hang around the bus stops, and like people just trying to get buses, and these like kids were like blaring out this music and just you know. And then one day, apparently, one of the security guards was like, you know that there's like a perfectly good square like over there. Can you not just go over there? And they were like, oh yeah, okay. And then that was that. And then awesome. I showed up. So I spent my like 14, 15, 16 or 15, 16 kind of years there. Yeah. And then I got to the point where like everyone, in 5th and 6th year, we'd kind of, I guess, everybody had their groups, but it was a lot less about like being something, like being a goth or being a nerd or being a what. Yeah, totally. So yeah, but in my formative years, it was Ned for a little bit, and then like, well, the thing is, I wanted to really like join in with the like emo stuff, because emo was massive when I was a teenager, just as I was coming out of teenager was when Scene Kid hit. Like just as I was kind of leaving it, but I really wanted to join in, but I was like too poor to be an emo. I couldn't afford all the stuff from Claire's Accessories. I really get that. It's like a way of life, and you have to be able to afford clothes, like accessories, like hair dye, or just like even like I would like I would get like a normal pair of, I like forced my mum to get me a normal pair of gloves for like £1, and then I'd cut the fingers off myself and be like, they're fingerless gloves.
Hell yeah.
And I'd just like, or like, yeah, I remember, hopefully my parents don't listen to this one. My dad like tuned in for like a minute of one of the other ones and was like, I tried to listen to your podcast, but you talk too much. And I was like, great.
Well, can't help that.
Thanks, Gavin. I one time, we used to go to France a lot on holiday, like, or like yearly family holiday. We would go to France to a caravan site for a week. And I found a bunch of euros one time, like left for me for years. They had just been left in this drawer, and I was like, So I took like a couple, maybe like 20 euros, and I took them to the cash exchange and got some money, and then realized that no one noticed. So then I just took the rest. It was maybe like 60 or 70 euros, but to me, I was like, I'm rich, and I'm not over exaggerating when I tell you I spent every penny of that in Claire's accessories.
Oh my gosh, I was obsessed with Claire's accessories, but it was more just I went through a phase where I wanted just to collect key rings. It's so sad, but like maybe like slightly before Claire's became like more alternative. It had just like a crap ton of key rings, and they were amazing, like pure. This was maybe more like less teenage. It was more like towards the end of primary school, but they had amazing key rings, and I used to collect key rings from whatever pocket money I might have got from like washing the car or something, and I would go buy these key rings, and honestly, and my keys were like bigger than it was. They probably took up about half of my bag. I would just drag these things out, and it was like, oh my god.
That is wow. I was not trusted with a set of house keys until I was like midway through high school, because I remember multiple times me getting home before my mum and just like sitting out, just having to sit outside and be like, she'll be here soon, I guess.
Well, that's it. I think we got our keys just purely because at the time my mum was like a single working mum, and she was like, well, I'm gonna have to like get them in the house somehow.
Well, that's the thing. My dad worked back shift, so if my mum didn't get home in time, like there was no one there. But I was just like, well, we got a front step. I'll just sit on the front step.
Oh jeez, that sounds not fun.
It was alright. I've just remembered a story that I want to get out before before I forget it. It was when I think it was maybe second year of high school, or maybe it was the late first year of high school. So still about 13. And this is when I was still wandering about in trackies and stuff. In school, we had a uniform, so it didn't particularly matter. But outside, I was like wearing trackies and hoodies and trying really hard to be tough. And one day in school, one of the girls came up to me who I really wasn't all that friendly with yet. And she said to me that she was going to be in a fight and asked me if I would fight with her.
What?
Like she
back
was
her up?
Yeah, well, she was like, I'm going to fight. I'm going to give these people fake names. The girl that talked to me was called Nicole, and she was like, I'm gonna fight Claire, but Claire's bringing a friend. Can you fight the friend so that I can fight Claire? And I was like, okay, like I agreed to it, because I was like, well, I don't want to seem like a idiot. I don't want to seem like a wuss. So I was like, yeah, okay. But obviously, I'd never been in a fight before. Like, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
No.
And then she showed me this girl, and I was like, this girl is so much older than me and like bigger than me, because I was pretty scrawny when I was 13. And I was like, okay. And then the day came like of the fight, which obviously never happened. Like we ended up amassing some sort of crowd that was following us around, like to and from.
Oh my god!
And then basically teachers were like, absolutely get out, stop it. And we were just like, yeah, okay. And then later on that day, I asked Nicole, I was like, why did you ask me? Like, what made you think I'd be good at a fight? And she went, oh, I heard that you had chipped someone with a metal pole before.
Wow.
And like, chipped, for people who aren't from here, is like to hit someone. It's basically, she said, I heard that you'd smacked someone over the head with a metal pole. And I was like, what has happened here?
See, secrets. Like, what are these?
Secrets.
I had this rumor as well. Like, it was really sad. Some total douche, I will name her because I don't know it anymore. Sophie, she was such a bitch. And
fuck you, Sophie.
Fuck you. And she she decided to spread a rumor about me that I was like basically like saying shit about another girl in class, you know, totally untrue. And I like hadn't rarely even spoken to this girl, but obviously it got caught wind with this other girl, and then she kind of cornered me in the bathroom and was like, have you been saying shit about me? And I was like, what the fuck? And it was like that. I was so hurt because I was so confused, and I was like, am I going crazy? Did I say something? What? But no, it turned out that I was just being kind of mentally abused by this total bitch.
I remember stuff like that all the time. Like, rumors was such a massive part of high school, like hearing about, and obviously again, so I came out as gay. Well, actually I was outed as gay.
Oh no.
I told the only person I ever told was someone who I was in band with, and again, I'm actually not going to name this person because I don't know if they're properly out or not, even to this day. I'm not sure, so I'm just going to be careful. But I told this person that I was gay because I knew that they were, and I was like, I can tell they need someone to talk to about this. And then I believe it went that I was not, so I was in band. I was in the school orchestra.
What did you play?
At first I played second chair cornet, and then I played like percussion, so like the timpani drums.
I did percussion in music as well. Yeah, percussion was my second instrument in like
xylophone was my second instrument.
Yeah, it's for the people that are like, I have a good main first instrument, but I have no blinking clue.
I don't know what to do with my second one.
Put her on the xylophone.
Yeah, I just knew that I didn't want to do cornet anymore because I was like, I'm tired of this stupid instrument. My lips hurt. So then I was just like, I'm gonna do singing and I'm gonna do xylophone.
I did the same. Oh my god, that's
it does not surprise me. But yeah, I got really good at timpani, and I was like, with no matter what song we did, I was like, is there a timpani part? Just like these massive drums. Anyway, I wasn't at band that week. It was a Wednesday, and I for some reason had decided I was too cool that week to go. And this girl who was still in the cornet section was like gossiping about me, and the guy who I'd said to her that I was gay was in the row in front of her because he played flute. And she was like, blah 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 blah, Cara, I heard she's bi. And he like swung his head round and was like, she's not bi, she's gay. And that was it. Like he basically just like confirmed it, and then like the whole band, and then I remember on MSN at the time, one of the girls came home and messaged me and was like, hey, Chibi told everyone in band that you're gay. And I was like, oh, and it was a long weekend, so we had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. So I just spent like the whole 4 days like crying because I was terrified. Like I was like, everyone's gonna hate me. I went to a Catholic school. I had like most of my friends were women, and I was like, I had chosen that year to do PE, so I was like, what if they think I've just chosen to do PE so I can be in the changing rooms? But it was actually totally fine. Like went in on the Monday, I was terrified, and then I sat down, and then one of the girl that sat opposite me, you know how you had like this specific chair that you sat in? Yeah, so I sat in my specific chair, and the girl that sat opposite me was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, we don't care. And I was like, oh. And that was basically it.
That's awesome. That's
but
good.
Before, yeah, I mean, it was really, it was very, very good, very supportive. But before I came out, as you can imagine, there was constantly rumours of like my sexuality.
Oh, really?
Yes, and then because of the rumours, I would have like really weird experiences where like, I don't know if it was like girls trying to figure out whether I was gay or not by like trying to like touch my butt or try to kiss me, or if they were like figuring out if they were gay or not. Like I don't know.
They're like, Cara's a safe bet. That horrible feeling.
Yeah, but I was so nervous that like if ever I was like, okay, yeah, sure, like this person wants to kiss me, fine, I'll kiss them. I was so nervous that it would come back to me and people would be like, Cara's the gay one. It doesn't matter that blah blah tried to kiss her because she was just trying to find out if Cara was gay.
Oh man.
So like I would always be like, no, get away from me.
I was very like, I mean, with me like boys, most like it within school there was this weird time where, so I went through like a phase where I kind of hung out with a friend's, like occasionally her older sister who was like 2 years above us in school, and we would, this was like sort of my kind of like rebellious phase, and we would go to the woods and smoke cigarettes, and
oh my goodness.
you know, every lunchtime we would sneak out to the woods, and I always had this bottle of perfume in my bag. It's like so late 90s, early 2000s. It was called Sun and Moon, and it's like in this weird ass bottle, but if I ever smell that, it just comes flooding back.
Yes.
I'm like, oh no. And it was all the paranoia of like, I would always come back smelling of cigarettes. I mean, the teachers weren't stupid, but they wouldn't say anything. They'd just be like, oh, silly, stupid teenagers.
It's just teenage stuff. Yeah.
But we would have, I remember, like one of her friends, who, like, in hindsight was a total dweeb and like a total like douche anyway, but like he was an older kid, and he came up to me once and he was like, oh, I really fancy you, do you want to go out?
Oh.
You know, that's how it's done. And I was like, well, this could be exciting, not because all I thought about was the kind of cred of having an older kind of a boyfriend.
Yeah, totally.
Like nothing else was like in my mind. I wasn't for once thinking about sex. I was just like, literally all it was that. And so we went out, but it wasn't, it was so dumb, and like we didn't even like hang out once after school. It was just kind of like something that was in school, and we would occasionally hang out, and then eventually, oh, would you believe it, he like dumped me in the middle of school. I know. I wish I had been remotely upset, but I just was kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
I had that twice in school, and each time it was just ending with the guy being like, you don't put out, bye, you know. And again, I wish, you know, I think they were hoping I'd be devastated, but I had literally zero interest in that or them at the time. And I was like, oh, okay, fine. I have 5 stories that I've written down that
I'm so excited.
I want to tell you my one word that I put for each of them, and then maybe
tell me.
Maybe you can decide.
I like this game a lot.
Yeah, me too. Okay, we have hair, golf, train station, Frodo, and Brittany.
Oh, this is hard.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
the ones that
they're all worth a shout out, but yeah.
The ones that jump out at me are golf, and Brittany. Those are the two that are getting me. I mean, because in my head, Britney, I jumped straight to Britney Spears.
Yeah, that would be correct.
Golf, I jumped straight to like the golf course.
That would also be correct.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. I think we had a very similar. I think we're very similar teenagers. Had we lived anywhere near each other, I think we would have been friends.
Yeah.
I would like to. I want to hear about Brittany. Tell me about that one.
Okay, so this will definitely give a good idea of perhaps how weird I was as a teenager, and how much I, in a way, didn't give a fuck about anything, but also at the same time desperately wanted to fit in. It was a really weird thing.
I mean, that's teenage years in a nutshell.
Yeah, I was like, I don't care.
I don't care, but please like me. Please, for the love of God, like me.
So this was in my last year, and I think it was my 4th year actually in school, so prime pain time, and they were gonna host at school a kind of karaoke competition. I think it could also include bands.
I'm already laughing.
Well, it gets better.
Oh, no.
So for a while, like, the teacher was like, Annabelle, you should totally enter, because they knew I sung in music, and they knew I kind of could sing. They're like, yeah, you should totally do it. And I was like, yeah, I was thinking of maybe like entering, and that would be really cool. And I was like, maybe like I don't know, like, it's a toss up between like Nancy Sinatra, My Boots Are Made for Walking, and Britney Spears. And the day of the karaoke, I decided that I would, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it right.
No. What did you wear?
I wore a horrendous Britney Spears Hit Me Baby One More Time, schoolgirl outfit.
No! Oh, Annabelle, no!
It had everything you could possibly expect.
Oh
There was a horribly short skirt. There was a shirt with quite a few buttons undone. There were pigtails with fluffy freaking like baubles, and like it was just horrible. But I just decided to turn up as Britney Spears for no reason at all. And I got there, I realized how packed the theatre was.
Yeah.
And I decided very quickly that I did not want to sing on stage as Britney Spears. Yes, that is saved. However, I was still dressed as Britney Spears, and I was wandering around an auditorium for no reason, dressed as Britney Spears. Yeah. And all the kids were like, why the fuck are you dressed as Britney Spears?
Yeah, actually, looking back at the story, I think it would have been better if you sang.
It made no sense, and I didn't even say to them, oh, I was going to sing. I was just like, I don't know, I just felt like
just wanted to, whatever.
And it must have been so painful for the teachers who like this teenage girl, I think I was 15, maybe 15, 16, was like wearing an outfit so inappropriate, and they couldn't really do anything. Like there was nothing else I could wear, and they're just like, right, well, I guess here,
this is it.
Dressed as Britney. Not singing. So that maybe gives an idea of just I don't know. I had a lot of fantasies in my head of like, I was so into pop culture. I was obsessed with like music videos and music of the time, and I was just in my head I was like, this is totally legit, this is normal. So that's my Britney story.
Wow, that was great. I enjoyed that one immensely. Whenever I did talent shows, I always wore really awkward stuff because I was so, even before I came out, I was just so adverse to like dresses or skirts, or I still don't particularly like them. I just like the security of something being wrapped right round both my legs, you know? And so whenever I did talent shows or anything, I think the very first time I ever sung live, I was 9, and I sang Beauty and the Beast from Beauty and the Beast.
Love
and
it.
I wore a cream suit.
That actually sounds amazing. I love suits.
I wore a cream suit that I had been bought for my aunt's wedding because I refused to wear a dress.
Yes.
So every time I did any like talent shows or anything like that, I always wore like a shirt and tie or like a suit or like some sort of a weird combo like that. And I remember I did one where it was like one person from each music class was allowed to go forward, and they did this every year, and it was like a talent of the year. I don't remember. It was something in school, and I decided to sing, but for some reason I was hell bent on singing. One Moment in Time by Whitney Houston, sorry. But the thing is, the song, obviously because it's Whitney Houston, the big notes are really high. Yeah. So I was like, I'll have to bring it down a little bit to get the high bits. But that meant that I brought it down. Like the low bits were like, if I just like so low. Yeah. And then like even the first like and I was always like and I, because I had to stay so low to get to the top, and it was so like looking back I'm like, why did I not just pick a different, why would I pick a Whitney Houston song?
When you're like that age, you're like hell bent, you're like, this is the song, I'm not gonna move away from this, and it will just be, it'll just come together. It will be amazing.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. I remember a couple of years before in primary school, I told my dad a talent show was coming, and I was like, I really want to sing at it, and I'd already picked my song, and I like marched up to my dad. I was like, I'm gonna sing, because this song was really popular at the time, and I was like, I'm gonna sing All the Things She Said by Tattoo. My dad was like, no.
But like, why? Yeah, like I've done that before. I've sung like when I had dance classes, and we used to get up at the end of each dance class and we were allowed to sing a song, and I was like, this was when I was really young, I think I was about 7 or something, and I was obsessed with Grease. So I decided to sing Sandra D from Grease, which is not
Nice.
like, it's a pretty racy song. It's all about like, would you pull that crap? And like I thought
Yeah.
I thought it was said of it was like, would you pull that crap with a net? But I used to think it was literally a net.
Me too.
Yes,
Me too.
right.
I
It
was
makes
always
sense.
like, what? I was like, what net? Like, and then because I was like, yeah, I had the exact same issue that
Oh
you had.
my.
Oh, this is okay. We're going completely off tangent,
Yeah.
but just really quickly, the other day I just like had no glasses left, so I got a mug from the kitchen and put some water in it, and I read the mug, and I was like, that's weird. And I went through, I went through to Hannah because it was her mug, and I was like, Hannah, what are spread sheets? And she was like, what? And I was like, your mug says, I was like, your mug says, I love spread sheets. And the reason I asked, because of the way I read it in my head, I was like, is this a sex thing?
Yeah.
And then she was like, Cara, spread sheets. And I was like, oh.
That's right. Spreadsheets.
I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, it's cool.
Completely off topic.
Should we like take it in turns to say sorry, or should I just ram out mine? Or
I have like, I think I told you this already. I just have like my list of stuff. It's like random like tidbit stories here and there.
yeah, okay.
I do have one. If we're currently still in school, I do have one because being a teen means, or I don't know if guys feel this way or not, but being a teen girl almost always means going to the toilet at all in school is embarrassing. Like, someone hearing you pee is embarrassing. Someone hearing you poop is embarrassing. Whenever I was on my period, I would pre-open my pads.
Me
Do you know what I mean? So that you wouldn't hear them rip in the toilet, which is ridiculous because like literally every girl I've ever talked to about that is like, oh yeah, I did that too, and it's like, why didn't we just anyway?
I know.
So for ages, I like would not pee in school because I was like,
you wouldn't pee at all?
No, I held it in. Yeah,
Oh
in my first. Yeah, in my young one. This was actually because, so, like, I started my period quite late. Apologies to any men who are, like, aren't grown enough to listen to period stories. Suck it the fuck up. We've all got them. Fuck off. Anyway, so it took me, I was quite late in getting my period. I'm pretty sure it wasn't till, like, the end of first year or the beginning of second year. Like, really quite late. So until that point, I was like, no, I'm not using the toilet in school. I'm not doing it. And then one day I was walking home, and so this often meant that walking home I'd be like, like just like you know what I mean,
keeling over in pain.
Yeah, just like, come on, Cara. And I remember one day walking home from school and being like, I'm not gonna make it. What do I do? And I was like, now this is the worst part, is there was people around. I wasn't walking with anyone, but there was just like people around as I'm walking the same way. And I was like, well, I can't veer off the path and go to a bush. Also, how embarrassing. And I was like, and I know I'm not going to be able to hold it in. I was like, I don't know what to do. So the best option for me at the time was just to like try to just let out the tiniest bit of pee. I was like, if I can just pee a little bit, it will
Let's
release.
see how strong my pelvic muscles are.
I was like, if I just release a little bit, hopefully that will like stop the pressure enough to like actually let me get home. So I peed a little bit more than I would have liked, but still not like all pee. Just like it still was like a burst of it, and then that was that. And I was like, I think I'm safe. I think I've got it. But the thing is, remember like school uniform trousers, they were just this very specific material. Yeah. So like the pee just like, oh god, why am I telling this story? The pee just like ricocheted off the trousers and ran down them. So like I was making like little pee footprints.
No. I can really picture it. I think I had sort of a similar moments where I was just like, I don't think I ever got that far, but I was in pain from like desperately needing to pee, and like school uniforms like were the worst material. They were like so like they weren't absorbent, and they were probably very flammable.
Yeah, they definitely were very flammable. Is definitely one.
They're
word
essentially like half plastic.
Mm-hmm. Are they not like a certain percentage polyester?
Yeah, for sure. Gross. And they also had that kind of, because you couldn't breathe properly. I always felt like by the end of the day, they just stunk. Because, like, they just had that smell. And,
Annabelle.
like, yeah.
Oh, that, like, I didn't even write this down, but that reminds me of just, like...
Okay.
It doesn't even remind me of a specific story. It just reminds me of, like, how much I fucking stank as a teenager. Oh my god. Like, you know, when you got to that, it was like a gateway age between, like, basically, like, going from being like a kid to starting puberty to starting to sweat.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like kudos to teachers, because, like, they must literally just be around, like, bad smelling teens constantly. Like, the whole of high school probably just smells like teen spirit.
It really does.
And I remember, like, getting to a point where I was, like, just sweaty because I was, like, a stupid little teen. But, like, I had like 3 shirts that I liked to wear. I liked wearing the long sleeve white shirts, and then I had this 1 shirt or 2 shirts that I didn't like. So instead of wearing a new shirt every day, I'd usually wear, like, a shirt 2 days in a row. And then I hit that point where, like, I really should not be doing that anymore because they smell so bad. But I was just like, it's probably fine. And I look back now and I'm like, how did I have any friends? Like, how?
Because they all smelled the same.
I don't remember any of my friends smelling as bad as I smelled. I don't remember. But, like, it was like that bit between, like, learning that you now need to use deodorant and also, like, learning that now you need to shower every day. Like, you need to.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
There is that kind of, like, little bit where you're trying to get it right, because, like, you're all of a sudden, as a kid, you didn't always need to, like, shower or bathe
smell
every
bad.
day.
Like, you just smelled like the outside. Like, you just smelled like fresh air, and it was nice. And
like
then
beautiful little pixies.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I was like an outdoor kid through and through, and my dad, because he worked back shift, so he'd come in a little bit later in the night, and he would always come in and sniff my head, because he was like, oh, you smell like the forest, and you smell like like fresh air. And then he stopped doing it when I was a teenager, probably because I stank so bad.
He was like, no. And then he was like, I'll never get this back.
Yeah, basically. It took me so long to, like, realize that, like, you need to step your hygiene up. You need to step your hygiene up quite a bit, because you cannot get away with it anymore. Like, I honestly don't know how I kept my friends, because I'm pretty sure quite a few of my female friends, like, they were on it pretty quick. Like, a lot of them had, like, routines pretty quick, like skincare routines. I have always been blessed, very, very, very lucky to not have acne. Really lucky. And I think that was actually to my detriment when it came to self-care, because I didn't have something visible that I needed to, like, take care of. Whereas, like, a lot of my other friends, like, needed to be really careful with their skin, and that led them to, like, discovering their self-care routines much earlier. Whereas I was just, like, in the corner, like, with visible stink lines.
I remember, like, every single girl, at least in my school, all had a can of Impulse in their bag.
Yes, Impulse. Oh my god,
all the Impulses. And you reminded me of, like, I agree. Like, I was good. Like, I think I showered every day, but I remember I was sweaty. I felt sweaty all the time.
Yeah,
it was that mix of the
sweaty
fabric, and, like, you're always just on the move, and you're doing PE and stuff. And I have to say,
and also just hormones, just your hormones just going wild constantly.
Yeah, and you're almost like, what the fuck? I have a picture. I think it's up with my mom. Height of, like, unwanted, slightly infamous now fame. When I was in how old was I? In my 5th year, I did Duke of Edinburgh, and I got the gold, because I went from I went straight to gold. I was like, I'm going to do it, and it was insane and intense. But anyway, got the gold. And who wanted to visit little old IRA but Prince Andrew himself.
Oh.
Scandal aus Prince Andrew.
Scandalous.
And he came to our school, and he wanted to meet us that had completed our Duke of Edinburgh gold. And I have a picture of me chatting to Prince Andrew with delicious sweat stains all under my arms. Like, I was wearing a light, like, a lilac colored shirt. Like, that is not ever gonna be good.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and so that is infamous. That is, like, that's something that'll be there forever, and it just sums up that feeling. I feel sweaty just
I feel it
thinking about it.
I'm like feeling like teenage sweats coming on. I had the same problem because I did ballet and jazz for a few years.
Me too.
And obviously, like, when you had like a uniform, right? Like, you would wear a leotard and whatever. And in ballet, we were given these like light lilac leotards, basically the exact same thing that you're talking about. But because I was like, so I was a little bit late to it, so I was the oldest one in the class, and like they were literally, people were constantly like, whisper, 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 and like looking over at me, and I was always like, what the fuck are they whispering about? And then I realized one day whilst I was like on the bar like doing my arm movements, and I looked down and was like, oh my god, because it was like proper sweat patches. And after that I refused to wear the lilac leotard. I would only wear the black one, and my teacher would always be like, Cara, you have to wear the lilac, like, I don't, why aren't you wearing it? And I was always like, no reason, I just don't like it, because
lilac.
I like couldn't bring, that was another thing about being a teen, is like, when something embarrassed you, you couldn't bring yourself to say like, oh, I'm embarrassed. Like, I remember one time I was at a gig, and I like, my knee popped out.
Oh my god.
I was like dancing and my knee popped out and then went back in. It basically, like, the kneecap like slid under the ligament and then back. Very, very painful.
Yeah.
And I was like in the other room, and there were the people that like worked there, the paramedics that were there were saying to me like, we need to lift your trouser leg up to look at your knee. And my friends were around, and I was adamant that no way were they lifting my trouser leg up. And they were saying like, Cara, like, the reason that you're telling us we can't is because it hurts. Like, you don't want us to look at it because because it hurts, which is bad. I was like, no. And what it actually was I hadn't shaved my legs, and I'd rather my leg fell off than my friends seeing my hairy legs.
I know, like, the way you would structure importance at that time is crazy, but I get the logic. Like, you think about it and you're like, yeah, like, I really get why that was so important at the time.
Why would I rather pee myself on the walk home than you, like, what the fuck?
But in your head at the time,
embarrassing?
You're like, it makes sense. Like, this is what I do. Oh my god. I love it.
Right, now I want to hear the golf one.
Okay. So this was... I love this story. I had a group. Eventually, like, my kind of group of friends, like core friends, was me and two other girls, and I'll call them J and K. That's their first name, initials.
J and
K. Joke. We decided one day to meet at the weekend, and one of the girls was like, yeah, let's go for a walk around Fairways, which is like a golf course just around near our school in Inverness. And we're like, yeah, that sounds really fun. And then we kind of went to Fairways, and we're like, oh, technically you can't go in if you don't have a license. And she's like, it's fine, I know a secret way in. And we're like,
yes.
Kill. So we wander up to the secret entrance, basically like through a fence, like a hole in the fence. And we start wandering around this like golf course, and we're really like far away from the golf like main house, and we're just like, this is fine. We decide that it would be really cool if we could like start collecting all the golf balls that were just had been left and no one had ever picked them up. And we thought, well, we could even sell these for like a really good price. So we were wandering around picking up golf balls, and we just started to get edging ever so much closer to the golf house. Bit by bit, we weren't really realizing perhaps how close we were getting, and all of a sudden you hear this and this golf caddy is literally zooming up this hill, like speeding and like bumping over hills, and it's just like this kind of crazy golfer from like probably the main guy from the golf like house, and he's just like, get the fuck out of here, and like, and we all sort of freaked out, and me and Kay, we all dropped our balls, and me and Kay ran off in one direction, and my other friend Jay ran off in the other direction. Jay. And Jay was like basically like cornered her like a police vehicle, and they like picked her up. We could hear them like picking her up, whereas me and Kay, yeah, we ran to wherever we could hide, and we ran to this like river bed, and it was we had to like basically run down this little slope, and it was like a little river running through it, and it was like really tiny, like it was like a stream, it wasn't a river, it was just like a tiny stream through the golf course. And so we ran down, and we could hear Jay just being like picked up and driven away, and then we're like,
what the fuck?
And then we're like, we are stuck on a golf course, we were far away from the exit, and we're like, what do we do? And I start having a panic attack.
Oh no.
I start sitting there like and I was like, it's fine, we'll be fine. And eventually I count down. And so we're like, okay, what are we gonna do? We need to have a plan of action. And we're like, we gotta crawl through the stream. If we crawl through the stream, we can get out. We know that the exit is like on the other end of the stream. Let's do this. So we great escaped it, like along this stream. We are climbing over barbed wire. At one point they keep coming for us. They're looking for us every time. Yeah, and you can hear their voices. There's like groups of them by now. They're all searching for us.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and you could hear them being like, oh my god, we need to get them down here. And they brought a dog.
No way.
Yep, they brought a dog thinking
on a golf course.
Yeah, like a sniffer dog. And they are like, all right, I don't remember the dog's name, but they're like, all right. And I could hear this dog like bounding basically down to us because the dog could smell us. And
yeah,
bless this dog. I love dogs. The dog ran up to us and was right there, and I was just looking it dead in the eye, and it was just like a little border collie.
Aww.
And we were just like, go away, and the dog just, bless him, turned around and just ran back and was like, meh, there's nothing here.
What
so
a sweetheart.
Foiled. And yeah, we I think it took us 2 hours to get out of that golf course.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Why were they like, why was there a manhunt? Like,
I know. What? They were really, really rad. Like, and my friend Jay, she eventually, like, we met up with her afterwards, or I think we called her or something, and she said that they had taken her into the golf house and were like, where do you live? What's your name? And they were interrogating her, and so she gave them a fake address.
Yes,
yeah, so they drove her back to this fake address. She was like, fuck. And fortunately, there was no one in at the time of this fake address, so they couldn't chat to like any so-called parent that were there. They just dropped her off and left her, and that was the end of that. But oh my god, like, insane.
What the fuck? Like, not to be that guy. Well, actually, to be that guy. What is wrong with fucking middle-aged white men?
Right.
Like, you know full well that was the reason that got escalated to the point that it got escalated was because it was literally just a group of middle-aged rich white men who were just like, these fucking women, like,
yeah, these like bratty teenage kids.
Yeah,
they were just clearly like they had a lot of testosterone and something to prove.
Oh my god, yeah, something to prove. That's the thing. Like, they're like, we are men, and this is the king's game.
Yeah, you've entered our kingdom now. Yeah,
we'll hunt you down with our sniffer dogs.
You can remember that look on that dog's face so clearly. It was just like, what the fuck am I doing here? And it just like ran off.
The dog's like, I was just out for a walk.
Yeah, I was just enjoying myself. So yeah, we got out, but we trudged home. Like, our trousers were soaking.
Yeah,
we were muddy, we were scratched. Oh my god, it was
my god.
But also just the best. Like, what? Yeah, it was just an awesome story. And
again, though, it really is the mentality of teenagers. Yeah. Like, if they had found an adult and they were like, what are you doing, blah blah, you would have been like, oh, I'm so sorry, like, yeah. I like got lost, found my way onto the golf course and thought I'll just walk up to the golf house, and that would have been that. But because you guys were teenagers, you were like, right, we need to get in the stream and we need to crawl on our stomachs for 2 hours.
We're like, logic, because in our heads we're like, what are they gonna do? We're gonna go to prison or something.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you were like, I'm too young to go to juvie. Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh my.
That's so funny. I've just seen one of the only like actual stories I wanted to tell.
Yeah.
Then it was like at the bottom of my list of like possible stories, and it's the story of my very first hangover.
Oh yes. Okay, I've got a similar story to this too. So this is good. Yeah.
Yes.
I want to hear.
So my very first hangover came about. It was my friend, and I actually mentioned this friend last episode because she told us about her cat who likes to poop when she's on meetings. My friend Leanne. It was her birthday, and I think it was her 15th birthday, and I was 14. I think. And then she had one again when she was 16 and I was 15. So her mum had allowed us to drink. Her mum was in the house and she was having a house party and she was like, you guys can drink.
Oh my God,
and Leanne had said to me, I know, and Leanne had said to me, like, I've got this 18-year-old friend who's going to be there. Like, what do you want to drink? And I was like, how about some vodka? Let's do vodka. So I got a vodka. I got like, I believe it was a 70cl of vodka. It was like a lot of vodka. And I showed up a little bit late to the party because I was at a show with my parents, like just grumpy as all hell, like, I want to be at the party. So I showed up and everyone else was already like drunk or whatnot. So and now because this was my first time properly with vodka, I didn't have like a reflex to it yet. Like I could just drink it and it would be fine, kind of thing. But so like I remember I went in, opened the bottle and just took like a couple big swigs of it, and then I half emptied out a 2 litre of Coke and filled the rest of the Coke bottle with the rest of the vodka. Nice. Like, really just clearly not understanding what vodka was at the time, and I was just like swigging it. At that point I didn't have like a gag reflex to the vodka because I was just like, whatever, it's just a new flavour. And obviously I got really incredibly drunk. There's parts of this night that I don't remember at all. Apparently I was sat on Leanne's bed like wrenching, and people were like go to the bathroom, and I just stood up and stared at Leanne's door until someone else opened the door for me, and then I ran out. I threw up everywhere in the bathroom, like everywhere bar the toilet. And then Leanne's mum came in, and I don't remember anything except I remember her shooing me out and I was clean. She must have cleaned me off in the bathroom, and then she cleaned the bathroom and I sort of ambled off to be drunk somewhere else. And then I remember going back and her coming out the bathroom and she was like, that's the bathroom all clean, that's you all clean, don't worry about it, like it's okay. And I was like, okay. And then I like went round her and then I was like, and just like threw up in the bathroom again, and she was like, for fuck. But this time I got the toilet, thank God. So then I was in there, I shit you not, for 2 hours, going between throwing up and passing out, just like I would not have left that bathroom if one of my other friends who was like just like fun drunk hadn't come in and grabbed my feet and being like, come back to the party, and dragged me out. Somehow I managed to revive and I went back to the party. Wow. And at one point I was in my sleeping bag and I hopped through into the kitchen in my sleeping bag, and my friend was like, that sleeping bag's massive, and I was like, it's my dad's. And they were like, you could fit 2 people in there. So she like tried to get in with me, and then my other friend tried to get in with me, and we all fell and they all landed on me, and it was really sore, and like I cut my arm, and it just all sorts. No. And then I woke up the next morning and I was like, what is this? What is this? I was like, I'm going to die. I was like, my whole body hurts. I like stretched and I saw the cut on my arm and I was like, what the hell? And like my head was hurting and I felt like I was going to throw up, and I did that classic thing of going home and just being like, hey mum, I feel really ill today, I'm just going to go and lie in my bed. But the kicker, so like the hangover was immense, horribly horrible. But the thing is, so cut to a year later, and I'm back at Leanne's house for the next year's party, ready to go. And Leanne's boyfriend, I was sitting on the arm of Leanne's couch, and there was like a lamp behind me, and Leanne's boyfriend at the time pointed to the lamp and went, do you remember when that fell on your head? And I was like, no. And then I turned around and looked at it, and as I looked at it I was like, oh, and it like flashed back to me a year later. The lamp shade was this big thick glass ball.
I know the ones.
And I cut, like, my head, like, had this vivid flashback of me sitting on the arm of the couch, like, smacking back against it, and then that orb smacking me in the head, and me just, like, holding my head and being like, for, like, 5 minutes. But I must have gotten, like, a concussion or something, because, like, I, for a year, did not remember this happening. It was crazy.
Whoa, that's mental. And yeah, I mean, there doesn't seem to be any lasting damage, so that's good.
Aside from the fact that I now can't handle the taste of vodka, no.
Yeah, you're like, apart from the fact I can't smell anymore, but it's fine.
Yeah, I can't smell, and I always walk in a circle to the left, but I'm probably fine.
Oh my god, yeah, blind drunk. I've only been blind drunk about twice.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, one of them is actually like a teenage story. Do you want me to?
Yes. Yes.
This is my train station story.
Oh, interesting.
Leads nicely into this.
Yeah.
So this is the one I wasn't sure I was going to tell because it doesn't particularly paint me in a good light, but I'm also at the same time like, fuck it. It was a very long time ago. I was 15. I was in a very bad way.
Yes. And
I was
like,
yeah.
Teenagers, when we were teens, I don't know what the story is yet, but I'll previous it with when we were teens, we all made mistakes. We all did dumb stuff, and like we all need to reconnect with our teenage self and say, you're a better person now, you know?
Exactly. And oh my goodness, look what you got through. You survived this. You literally physically survived, and you also mentally survived, and you are awesome and strong and kick-ass for getting through it.
Yes. Okay, tell me the story. I'm nervous, but tell me.
Yes. Well, so again, this was the older friends of my friend Jay, the older sister, should I say, and her friends. We decided we would do the classic thing of being like, we're all staying at each other's houses.
Yep.
I don't know how we couldn't do it anymore. Like, you know, now with phones and stuff. But at that time, it was like seemed fine. And my mum actually, I spoke to my mum today, and she was like, I am aware you snuck out, because I told her like later on, I was like, I snuck out a lot, and she was like, I am aware of this. I might not listen to this episode. And I was like, that's cool. Not in a bad way. I was like, you might not want to. But anyway. So we snuck out and we went and met my friend's sister and her friends in the centre of town. And it was like quite late at night. It was like, maybe like 9 o'clock or something. And they were like not a particularly reputable crowd, and they were dabbling quite a lot in drugs, and the drug of the choice at that time was ecstasy.
Oh, that's quite. Wait, what age were you?
This was actually later than like proper time. It was like early 2000s, so like I think ecstasy was like primarily like 90s.
I was gonna say, feels like a weird drug to be playing with, like out on the street with like your street pals, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I was feeling reckless, and I was totally reckless.
We've all had, I mean, most of us anyway have had a drugs phase, so don't apologize.
Yeah,
for it.
I mean, this sort of proves as well, like so anyway, I'll tell the story. I was offered a tablet, and I was like already quite drunk, and it was my kind of first time being drunk anyway, so I was like, what is this experience of drink? And I was like, what is the world? But I was managing, I was holding it together, it was fine. But of course I decided, let's take a tablet, and I was the only one of my friends to do this, because I was like, fuck it, and I took it, and oh my god, I ended up in slow motion, like waving my hands in front of my face, like proper like, what is happening? Everything sort of was sped up but slow at the same time, and I couldn't compute, and I was seeing colors. I was like, everything was pink, and I was like, is this what being drunk is? This is cool. And I ended up running around the train station in Inverness like a mental, just being like, oh my god, they're cool. And then finally at the end of the night, wet myself in the middle of a train
No,
station.
no.
And we ended up going to this random house in like this really sketchy area of Inverness, and we crashed over in this random dude's like house. He must have been in his 20s, and we all crashed.
That was the dealer. That was the dealer for sure. 100%.
It was for sure. Yeah, he was definitely older, and like that was genuinely the last time I wanted to take A-class drugs, and it was actually good. Like by that point I was like, I don't need to take any more. Like
Fair.
I am that was fine. I experienced it. Let's move on.
Yeah.
So
I feel like there's like definitely two schools of, or two types of people with it. Like there's the people who experimented with drugs in their teens, and then there's the people who experimented with drugs in their early 20s because they had money to buy them then. Do you know what I mean? Like I was definitely an early 20s drug trier. Like when I was a teenager, like I believe no, not even. I was going to say, I believe I must have smoked weed, but I didn't. Like, I drank, and I was never actually someone who enjoyed smoking, but I had tried a cigarette or two. But yeah, drugs, like any drug, like of any class, was just not something that was like in amongst my friends until I was like in my 20s, and then it was like my friends who are like doctors and lawyers and have money who are like, I can buy these from like reputable people now, so like do you guys want to do this or that? And I was like, yes, of course. I think drugs are fun. I don't particularly do them anymore because I feel like I'm past that, but like if you get them from somewhere what you know is safe, fucking
like I definitely like was put off by like chemically drugs like because of it, but I still very much into my 20s like smoke weed and tried things. You try things. You try
of course,
I went to Amsterdam, tried my mushrooms, and was like, that's a fun experience. But again, I just didn't connect with it. I just didn't care.
You felt like you had the experience, so it was like, okay, cool, that's that. When you were saying that story in my head, I was like, can't connect to the teenage drugs, can connect to now that I'm talking about it with you, just so many more stories about me peeing myself. I remember there was this one time that I had broken into a place called Bangor. Have you heard of Bangor?
No.
So Bangor is an old like abandoned hospital. But it's not just one building, it's like there's just like a bunch of buildings. There's like an old church, and there's an old hospital, and there's like the nurse's place, and there's all sorts of stuff. And basically, if you grew up where I grew up, when you became a teenager, you went to Bangor with that one friend who had a car, and you went in at night and you tried to break into the buildings. That's that.
Yeah.
And so we break into these buildings. Basically, I'd put a pair of gloves on, and I would grab one of the boards that was boarding up the windows, and then my friends would put their arms around my waist and just pull me, and I'd like yank these boards off, and we managed to get into the nurses' building, which is a really long building, and someone had put in these wooden ladders that took you out and onto the ceiling, because the ceiling had a hole in it, so it took you onto the actual roof of this building. And obviously, in amongst all this, you're trying to there's a guy in a van whose sole purpose is to stop teenagers from doing this. He's like driving around trying to, and we were on top of this roof, and I needed to pee. We'd obviously also been drinking, and I had a shiwi with me.
Oh my god! Wow, that's prepared.
Because at this point I worked in Cotswold Outdoor, the outdoors shop. And Cotswold recently had sent a shiwi to all of the members of staff, including the men.
Love it, because extra trajectory.
Yeah, not only that though, they had sent pink shiwis to the women and blue shiwis to the men.
That's so weird.
It was honestly the weirdest. I was like, what is anyway. So why would you gender something? Anyway, doesn't matter. So I had this shiwi, and I was like, I'm going to be really cool, really funny, really all of the positive things, and I was like, I'm going to pee off the roof.
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna use my shiwi and I'm gonna pee off the roof, and everyone's gonna think I'm really fucking cool. So I was peeing off the roof, but obviously because there was a pressure of people being like, oh my god, that's so funny, ha ha, and like watching me, like my trousers were still up. With a shiwi, you're just meant to like place it over yourself, but you're not meant to apply any pressure, otherwise it will change the trajectory of your pee stream.
Oh no.
But I was like drunk and like under pressure to perform, so I was like pushing this thing up against myself, and just in case I missed somehow. And because I was doing that, the pee went into the shiwi and then was like too much and just like ricocheted back out the shiwi, and I just like peed all over myself.
Oh no.
But no one had noticed that I peed all over myself yet, so I just had to pretend that it was working fine, whilst I like tried to move it around and like get it, and then like I just had to spend the rest of the night with like pee trousers.
There's nothing as cold as wetting yourself and having to stand with your trousers all wet outside.
Yeah. Oh.
Sad times.
It's such a horrible feeling. You're just like, I'm the worst. Why do I do this?
I can't function.
Yeah, I can't trust myself to pee.
Yeah, oh man. I feel you and I hear you, and you're not alone.
Clearly, like, even just from the amount of pee stories I've had and then the pee story that you brought up, I'm like, it must be like an unspoken rite of passage in amongst teenagers to piss themselves at least once.
Totally. Yeah, you've not lived. You need to experience that complete shame.
Oh no.
Oh man. I have 2 more stories. Shall I rattle through them, or do you want to go first? Or you got some good ones?
No, you give me. What was the other? Let me pick one. What was the other 2 stories?
We've got hair or Frodo.
Yeah. Controversial to the audience, but I'm intrigued by hair.
Okay, so hair. Again, teenage brains. What are they? So I have, like, you can probably see it's actually a lot calmer than it ever was when I was a teenager. Because when I was a teenager, this was before really like hair straighteners. This was like hair straighteners were just coming in, and and even then they weren't very good hair straighteners.
Yeah, this is when you would use a towel and an iron.
yeah, just iron my hair.
Yeah.
But my hair was just so like thick and frizzy, like that's just what my hair does. And I was so sad that it seemed to me that all the other girls in my class had like this really sleek, shiny, straight hair, and it's all I ever wanted was the opposite. And I thought, maybe in my head, if I give myself a haircut, then I will achieve what they have.
Oh no.
And in my head, I thought, it's just thinning out my hair, it'll be fine. I decided to grab the top part of my hair.
What, Annabelle?
And essentially, like, in a middle part, grab the top part of my hair and cut the top layer of my hair off.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
And I was left with, like, essentially, like, little spikes of hair all the way down.
Oh my god.
And it looked like a mullet.
Oh my god.
It was a classic example of making things completely worse for yourself.
Oh my god.
And oh my god, the shame. And I tried to like hide it. You know those like those like old Alice bands, but they were like ones with like little kind of things you could like claw them back. I ended up just living in these because they kind of concealed my hair, but people know, and people noticed, and
people definitely noticed.
and I would get like these comments, and it wasn't like bullying. People would just come up to me in like the lunchtime being like, why did you do that? and they were so confused.
Oh my god!
And I was like, "What? I don't know what you're talking about. I'd never cut my hair. Why would I do
point
that?"
Blank deny
yeah,
it.
like it was right there. And so I had this like horrendous grow out of this hair. I have pictures, I'm sure, somewhere.
Please send me them so I can put them on the Instagram.
Yes, I'm gonna find them. I'll see if I can find some. But oh my goodness, I never again, like I do trim my hair, that's fine, but in my head I just thought cutting off that top layer will thin it and it will look it will fall straight. That was my thinking.
Yeah, you were like, well, there's less of it, and then it can't be as frizzy.
It will work.
Oh no. That reminds me. I never cut my own hair. Well, I will have done actually when I was a kid, but I did do one thing once where basically when I was about, I think, still about 14. Most of my awkward things are around 14. But when I was about that age, it really choppy layers were a big deal. Yep. A really big deal. And like I was like, I want choppy layers so bad. And I had seen so many pictures of girls, or women should I say, that had like their layers were choppy and then they would like flick out.
Oh my god.
So their hair was like flicky all the way down, and I was like, I want that. So I took these pictures to my hairdresser and I was like, I really want this. Can you do that for me? And she was like, yeah, sure. And she like got the back top of my hair and just like cut it off. And I was like, what is happening? And then she like, so I literally had like a tuft at the top, and she like spiked it out and then cut the rest of my hair down. So it was like a mullet but with a spiky bit on the top.
You looked like a Karen.
No, I looked like we call it the pineapple hair. No.
I totally know. I know exactly the one you mean.
Honest, but the rest of my hair was still like down to like maybe just below my shoulders.
Oh no.
So I had, and remember at this point, like, I'm ginger now, but at this point I was like really ginger, so I was like properly ginger with like a spiky head. And I remember, I know this must have happened on a Friday because I had a couple of days off school where I just wasn't at school. And I remember waking up the next day and that bit that she had cut on the top of my head from sleeping had turned into a little like fire plume. Just like a little, and I had to like separate it out and like with gel and like spike it up. And I remember when I went on Monday to school, about partway through the day I went for my timpani lesson, and I went in and the first thing that my timpani teacher said was, so you really did cut your hair. So like clearly people had been like, have you seen Cara yet? What the fuck has she done?
How did they know? Was this like MSN chat or
no? It
must
have been like, it must have been like a teacher at the beginning of the day saw me and was like, what the fuck, and then just like told everybody else. But yeah, I had to like, so I had this like spiky bit at the top of my head for ages, and my hair grows so fast. Mm-hmm. Like I shaved my head recently and I have like so much hair already. It's crazy how fast it grows. So it would always, the spiky bit would always grow really fast, and then it would start turning in, which is where the pineapple comments came from, because it would turn in like that. And eventually I was like, I'm going to have to grow it out. Like I started like, I had to like wax and gel it down to my head so it stopped sticking up. And then unfortunately, because my second name is Mullen, I got the nickname of Cara Mullet for a little while.
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, Cara Mullet is class, and I had Anna smell. Even though I don't think I really smell, but it makes sense. Anna smell.
Before the mullet happened, before I actually did have a mullet, no one could ever find a way to make my name bad. Like I've never had in my whole life I've never had a nickname. Because it's just like impossible to nickname my name. The closest I had Cara Mulan when Mulan came out, and I was like, yeah, literally my response was like, okay, I like Mulan.
That makes sense. Cool. I've watched Mulan.
Yeah, and then I had someone one time was like, whatever, Cara Mueller Rice.
I love that. Well, I'm up for Mueller Rice. That was a staple of my, like, eating, like, food I ate as a teenager. That was definitely up there. A lot of moolah rice.
I can't handle the texture of moolah rice at all. Speaking of, so food as a teenager just is shit. Like, as in, like, you will just eat hot garbage. Because you can. Your metabolism's like, yeah, sure, why not? Like, you can eat whatever you want. The problem I had as a teen in my in my 6th year especially was I got a really bad energy juice addiction. Have I told you about this before?
I know that you had this because we were working together when you were trying to wean yourself off it.
It's literally like, so this was 6th year, so it would have started when I was about 15 or 16. I still have problems with it today. That's how bad it was. And the reason it got, well, I mean, it got so bad for many reasons. I'll not bring down the mood of the podcast, but, you know, abusive relationships and all this sort of horrible stuff at the time. But the fuel for it was, there was a vending machine at the centre, Livingston Centre near my school, and it had this cans of this thing called Red Devil in it, which is like the same size as a Red Bull can, but it's much sweeter, essentially. And this machine you would put my £1.20 in, and I would get it to drop a Red Devil, but the machine, because the cans were thin, wouldn't recognise it dropped anything. So it would ask me to try again, and I could try 3 times, and then it would give me my money back.
Nice.
Yeah, so I would go there every day and I would clear this machine, and I would just like pile the cans into my bag. And I am not kidding you when I say that I was drinking somewhere between 8 to 12 a day.
Oh my.
A day. Like,
how are you alive?
I don't know. Like, it got to a point where certain teachers would let me drink the cans in class. Like, no one ever pulled me aside and was like, are you okay? But like, they'd be like, fine, whatever. And I would like finish a can and then like reach into my bag and like crack open another one, like straight away. Like, honestly, it was insane. And the only time that I would have like less, if I was only going to have like maybe 5 cans or something, was if it was like a specific, I don't remember what the days were now, but I was so like in tune to this that I knew the days that they didn't restock the machine.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
So I'd like stretch my cans out. Yeah, it was unreal. And yeah, to this day, so since quarantine, since lockdown, I have had 2 cans of the one I normally drink now, which is Relentless. I've had 2 cans of Relentless, and it was somewhere near the mid. So at the beginning I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give up, and I gave up. And then I had 2 cans because I was having a hard, bad day. Coronavirus has like hit my family quite hard, so I was just having a bit of a down time. And I said to Hannah, I was like, I really want a Relentless. And she looked at me and she was like, I can get you one today if you want one. And I was like, I do. So she went out and got me a Relentless, and I drank it. And then she had surprised me by getting me a second one. And I woke up the next day and I was like, I really want that second one. And I was like, fuck, that means I can't have them at all. So I went to Hannah and I was like, look, I'm really glad you got me it yesterday. I needed it. I would have been really grumpy if you'd said I couldn't have one. But now I need you to say no matter what. I was like, today I'm going to have my last one because it's in the fridge and I physically can't throw it out. But then I need you to say no. So I've not had one since. I had, when we were moving, I like chugged a Red Bull. But that to me wasn't the same because it wasn't like the one that I want. I actually didn't go for Relentless. I grabbed Red Bull instead. And even that's only been a couple ones, and that's it. So hopefully we're back to, I know, hopefully that's me finally kick the habit after 10 years.
That isn't something like like caffeine and sugar in one hit.
Deadly. Caffeine, sugar, and also like carbonated drink. Yeah. Like fizzy juice is just like nice. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then like but the problem is currently, when you find like what you think the peak fizzy juice is, you don't want any of the other ones. Mm-hmm. So what I'm drinking right now is sparkling water with some diluting juice in it.
That is a healthy alternative.
Yes,
good.
That's what I was thinking. I know.
That's cool. Yeah, we used to have we don't have fizzy drinks in our house, but we go through like small phases of that, like a beer, and it's like that feeling of summertime if the sun's out and having a beer. There's nothing like it.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm glad that you are
On the road to recovery.
On the road to recovery. I mentioned earlier on the Instagram account that I have essentially a time capsule of music, and it's so disgusting. It's covered in dust. Okay. I haven't looked at this in a very long time, and I think it's going to essentially capture my whole teenage years and a lot of angst and everything. And so, right, all CDs we have. I'm going to just run through them really quickly because I think it's great. We've got a best of hits Blur album. Classic.
Oh, nice. Straight away.
We have Queen greatest hits.
Ooh.
We have No Doubt Tragic Kingdom. We have a special blank CD with no writing on it. How intriguing.
Oh my god, later on you need to put that into your laptop and film whatever it is.
Oh
yes, we need to know. The audience needs to know.
We need to know. We have Beyonce, Dangerously in Love.
Oh
my gosh, I think I've doubled up these CDs. How is that possible? Oh, Christina Aguilera, Stripped. Classic. Justin Timberlake, Justified.
Is that his first solo? Yeah.
It's so good. Avril Lavigne, Let Go.
I mean, it would be a crime if you didn't have Avril Lavigne in there.
Exactly. She is so there. But then right next to her we have a copy CD of the definitive Simon and Garfunkel.
What the fuck?
I was very confused. Ash. Now that's a blast from the past. And
I don't even know that one, Ash.
Ash were like proper, like they were mainly 90s but also 2000s sort of bands. I can't even remember. I'll have to listen to it. And then next to it we have the soundtrack of Miss Saigon.
What's going? Oh yeah, your secret double life, your musical theater double life.
We have 2 Chili Pepper albums, classics. We have The Darkness. Oh my god!
Of course, wonderful.
NERD. We got Snow Patrol in there. We have both Travis albums. Busted is in there. 2 Busted albums.
Nice. What age were you at Busted's height?
Too old to be listening to Busted. I saw them in concert with my brother.
I remember being in primary 6, so I would have been maybe 11, and that's when Charlie left Busted, because I remember having a calendar and blocking out all of Charlie's faces from the calendar.
What a dick.
So yeah, I was 11, so I would have been about 9 or 10 when they were an actual thing. I went to see Mick Busted just a few years ago when McFly and Busted toured together, and like I'm somewhat proud, somewhat ashamed to say it was amazing. It was honestly so good.
I had such a good time at the concert because McFly were it was before McFly like hit super big, and they were like the lineup kind of pre-band to Busted. So I saw both of them, and oh my god, it was so good. It was so good. My thing started to record again. That was weird. I stopped it and it started. I'm near at the end. We've got fucking more Chili Peppers. Keen.
Oh my god, I remember Keen.
It's depressing. Oh my god, what's this? Chili Peppers. The Clash, which is pretty cool actually for me.
Oh yeah, pretty good.
The Beatles. We've got some Beatles in there, and then that. And then we have just some Maroon 5 and some acoustic music and the Libertines and some band called Embrace.
Embrace?
What's that? Wait, are they called Embrace? What's that? Hang on. Embrace. Yeah, that's their name. Embrace.
I've never heard of them before.
Well, clearly I lost a lot of memories at that time, so I don't remember them either. Oh my, that was fun. Your
music collection is still way cooler than the stuff I listen to.
Really?
Like, I'm having a hard time remembering like any of the names. I had like AFI, Flyleaf,
I don't know any of this.
I'm trying. They were like emo-y, like Flyleaf was I believe, or they had like screamo songs. It's a female singer. I honestly can't remember the names of System of a Down.
Okay.
Like stuff like that. That's the stuff I was listening to. My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, like all of those. They were all my go-tos.
Oh man, yeah, they were my sister's go-tos as well. She's pretty much the same age as you, so yeah, I kind of heard them via her.
Yeah.
Oh man,
a few of those things were definitely a walk down memory lane.
Yeah, do you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make a Spotify playlist of some of the best tunes. Maybe send me yours as well, and then we can put up a wee link to our Spotify playlist of all our teenage music. Yes.
I wish I'd thought to do this when I saw your Instagram story. I was like, because I actually do have all the music, or all the folders of the music that I used to listen to are somewhere buried in my computer. Somewhere. Nice. And I wish I'd thought to like look in there, because it would have just been such a strange look into teenage Cara, because it was stuff like that. And then like I loved Neo.
Like as in from the Matrix.
No, the singer. What the?
Who's Neo?
Neo. Oh, I can't remember any of his. I can't. So sick of love songs, so tired of tears. Do you not remember him?
I vaguely remember Neo, but not really.
That was one of his songs. So I think it's called So Sick, or like Sick of Love Songs. Although So Sick was also a Flyleaf song. I'm getting off topic, and we're now
sick.
We are now at an hour and 40 minutes. So
well, I loved that dive down memory lane.
I enjoyed this immensely. It was not as cringy as I thought it was going to be, and for myself, but definitely there was some moments.
There was. I actually feel just proud of myself for getting through that, and for still keeping afloat today.
Yes, I know. My God. If anyone listening feels empowered by this podcast and wants to share any and all teenage anything with us,
oh my gosh,
we will definitely revisit.
You can even email us and say keep it anonymous if you want, and we will keep it anonymous.
Totally, we will keep it anonymous. We only say names so far because no one's ever told us not to.
Yes.
So if you want to send us stories about teen years, literally stories about anything, like we will do different things every time we record. We actually at this current point don't have next week's plan yet.
I know. Yeah, we don't, and we didn't. I mean, that's okay. We will. we would love to hear some suggestions. Like, we'd love to hear. If you were like, I really want to learn more about space.
Yeah.
Or I really want to learn more about the Russian Revolution. I will help. I don't know any of it. I mean, but why not?
You can give us topics for things like this, for where we dive into our own experience of these things, or just give us random topics. Give us random topics that we then have to scramble to get information about, and we will do that, and we'll talk about it, and it will be great and funny.
I will only look at a Wikipedia page. I will not look any further than that.
Nothing else.
So
we'll put up some polls or some things on our Instagram story. The Instagram is Breakfast Food Podcast.
Yep.
If you haven't followed us yet, please do follow us. That's where you'll get any updates, and that's where you'll get any info of like being part of any of the episodes.
Yeah, and also Twitter as well.
Of course.
If you prefer Twitter or whatever, we're also on Twitter now at Breakfast Food P. So good breakfast food P, bringing it back to the episode. So you can find us there as well.
Nice. And we have an email. If both of those things aren't something that you are keen with, but you want to send us some stuff, the email is breakfastfoodpodcast@gmail.com. So feel free to contact us on any of those things. You can contact me on my personal Instagram. It's cara.mckinley, or Annabelle's, which is
Annabel Logan comedy.
Annabel Logan comedy.
So yeah, you can find me. I'll just type me in. I'll pop up somewhere down the line. Yes, please. I would love to hear stories and suggestions and all that jazz. Right.
All right.
Wow. Cool.
Talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good breakfast. See you later.